Honorable House Chair, Honorable President, members of the National Assembly and the NCOP, fellow South Africans, I greet you with the universal greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Honorable President, on Friday evening I sat in my bench, and instead of playing Candy Crush, I listened intently to your State of the Nation address. You see, Honorable President, as a young South African, I must hope. Like millions of young South Africans across our beautiful land, I am thirsty for hope. I yearn for a new beginning. I want to be led. And so I listened with hopeful ears for leadership, brave and courageous, the kind our generation needs so desperately. And you made some of the right noises, and they were welcome announcements, which we appreciate. But ultimately, there was one glaring issue which enjoyed nothing bold nor courageous. In celebrating the centenary of President Nelson Mandela, it is an issue that one cannot simply continue with the status quo. For it was Madiba that said that no country can really develop unless its citizens are educated, and that it is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, that the son of a mine worker can become the head of the mine, and that the child of farm workers can become the president of a great nation. And yet, Mr. President, you would have us believe that our basic education outcomes are improving, quoting the increase in matric pass rates. The reality is that the real matric pass rate is at 37.3%. This is not an improvement. In fact, it is worse off from last year's real pass rate of 40.2%. What this means is that of the over 1.3 million South Africans who were in grade 10 in 2015, over 900,000 could not get a matric pass, and only 153,610 managed to attain a bachelor pass. The most tragic part about all of this is that the circumstances of one's birth and the legacies of the past continue to determine success in our unfair society. That a black child is still 100 times more likely to grow up in poverty than a white child. That 4 out of every 5 grade 4 learners are illiterate. And even those fortunate enough to get to matric and pass and enter a university, half will drop out before they reach their second year. This, while 60% of our TVET colleges are dysfunctional, with a pass rate of less than 40%. I'm sure you will agree with me that our generation deserves more. You very eloquently, in the words of the late great Brayu Masekela, asked the nation to send you. I'm grateful for that plea. For we must urgently send you, Mr. President. We must send you to sit in the classes of one of the over 5,000 teachers who are not qualified to educate our children. We must send you to feel the anguish experienced by our educators, whose SATU has been found complicit in the demands of payments or sex for jobs or promotions. We must send you to walk, not down the Sea Point promenade, but with our children who must walk over 10 kilometers just to get to school, where they will have their only meal for the day. We must send you to spend a night in one of the stinking residences at the Walter Sisulu University, which has no running water. We must send you so that you may fully comprehend the conditions that the ANC have kept our people in, so that you may appreciate the urgency for bold and decisive action. The number one problem facing our basic education system is that trade union bosses from SATU have captured that system. You may have felt that you had to praise them when you spoke at their Congress last year in order to be elected as the ANC president, but our children cannot afford the placation of SATU any longer. South Africa has the highest number of teaching days lost to strikes in the continent. Thus, we need legislation that regulates teacher strikes so that no child loses their right to a decent basic education. We need bold new reforms to improve the quality of teaching, whether SATU likes them or not. This should include implementing the teaching competency tests and principal performance agreements that have been blocked by SATU for over 5 years. It should also include the introduction of a National Education Inspectorate at arm's length from government with the power to assess teaching and learning in the classroom. Teachers who do not have the qualifications should not be allowed to teach. To bridge the skills gap, an aggressive headhunt of excellent mathematics and science teachers from all over the African continent must begin in earnest. Teacher training colleges must be brought back to give teachers the practical skills they need to make a meaningful impact in the classroom. The creation of collaboration schools can harness value from NGOs and the private sector, as we have done here in the Western Cape. Schools must be incentivized to retain learners rather than cull them. And a bold new offer would be the introduction of a voluntary year of national civilian service for unemployed matriculants and a free year of skills training for our youth. Our TVET colleges must be overhauled with updated curricula, classrooms and equipment so as to be institutions of choice. The historic debt being carried by poor university students must be dealt with as it continues to burden our students and institutions. The self-serving fiefdoms, Mr. President, of the CETAs and the NYDA must be scrapped so that the limited resources meant to skill and develop our youth are used to do so, rather than to continue serving the patronage networks of the ANC. Mr. President, after 9 years of Zuma and ANC failure, bold and courageous leadership is required now more than ever. And for the sake of my generation and the generations to come, I would like to ask you to please agree that lending a hand will not be enough. Thank you.